Hi everyone, this is Kalyan Kumar this side and welcome back to Chemistry Universe. We are doing proteins and we've already done part 1 of amino acids, which was the basic nature of amino acids and their structures. And in this one, we are going to talk about physical properties of amino acids. And these physical properties are not that simple as, which are solid, which are liquid, gas, boiling point, melting point. No. Here we're going to talk about certain very important things. And we're going to talk about pH. We're going to talk about something called an isoelectric point. So all of that will come up in this. So let's get on with the video. All right, this is part 2, physical properties of amino acids. Now, in physical properties of amino acids, we have to understand that although the amino acids are commonly shown as containing an amino group and a carboxyl group, NH2CHR, COH, certain physical and chemical properties are inconsistent with this structure. So what basically happens is, whatever you expect a COH or an NH2 to do, some properties don't match with the existence of a COH or an NH2 group. Like for example, how acidic they are or how basic they are. So it all depends on that. In contrast to amines and carboxylic acids, the amino acids are non-volatile, crystalline solids which melt with decomposition at fairly high temperatures. So unlike amines and carboxylic acid, they have a higher melting points. Okay. So they're crystalline solids. They're insoluble in non-polar solvents as you would expect, but are appreciably soluble in water. That means it looks like they are polar. And their aqueous solutions behave like solutions of substances of high dipole moment, something like electrolytes. And these are explained by considering amino acids as dipolar ions. Now, acidic and basic strength of amino acids are much lower than that of normal carboxylic acids and amines. For example, glycine has a Ka of this and a Kb of this. Whereas if you simply look at an aliphatic carboxylic acid, generally they have Ks in the region of 10 to the power negative 5. And in amines, the Kb is around 10 to the power negative 4. So you can see how low glycine is. Now all these properties are quite consistent with the dipolar structure of amino acids. Meaning, instead of this being the amino acid, we should consider this one. Amino acid is a dipolar ion also known as a zwitterion. A zwitterion is a single molecule having two opposite charges. Now, you may say, why? Well, because the acidic nature of a carboxylic acid is due to this. Whereas the acidic nature of an amino acid is due to this, ability of this to give proton. The basic nature of a normal amine is due to this. Whereas the basic nature here, it is due to this, the ability of this to take the H+. Now, one may wonder that isn't it easier for a positive one to give H plus rather than a neutral one to give H plus? Isn't it easier for a negative one to accept an H plus than for a neutral one to H plus? So wouldn't the amino acid be more acidic and more basic than a normal carboxylic or an amino or an amine? Well, it may you feel so, but it's not. Now, one might feel that acidic strength of COH should be less than that of NH3+, because the former generates a negative charge on deep protonation, which would have a higher attraction of H+, while the latter generates a neutral molecule, right? The NH3+ is able to give you NH2, something neutral, better. And COH gives you negative, trying to attract the H+. Now, these species aren't in vacuum, okay? They are usually in water. How water interacts with a conjugate acid conjugate base has a big influence on acid base chemistry. So look at it from this point of view. The reason a COH is more acidic than an NH2 plus or an NH3 plus, whatever, is that COH gives you CO minus. Now, which one do you think is better hydrogen bonded in water? CO minus or COH? The negative ion is more, because it's minus. The O minus can easily form good hydrogen bonds rather than a neutral O. So when a COH becomes CO minus, the product is hydrogen bonded, meaning it will easily give the product. Whereas when an NH3 plus becomes an NH2 you'll find that the NH3 plus is more hydrogen bonded rather than the NH2. And therefore, its ability to give the H plus would be less. So when COH dissociates to give CO minus, the ion is more hydrated than the acid itself. This makes the carboxylate ion more stable than the acid, so it is easily dissociates. While when NH3 plus dissociates, it gives a neutral NH2 group. Therefore, the reactant is more stable than the product because of hydration, because of more H, and so it is less acidic. So this is less hydrated, this is more hydrated. And they both give H plus. So H plus is not to be considered. So RNH2, this is more hydrated, this is less hydrated. Likewise, the basic strength of amino acid is decided by the ability of CO minus to accept a proton to become CO minus, COH. Here the reactant is, as you can see, more stabilized by hydration than the product, which reduces the extent of reaction. Similarly, the basic strength of an aliphatic amine is decided by the ability of NH2 group to accept a proton to NH3 plus. And as you know, NH3 plus is more hydrated than NH2, so it will lead to the product easily. In this, the product is more stable than the reactant, which increases the extent of reaction. So the ability of CO minus to accept H plus is less because this is hydrated, this is not. And the ability of this to accept the H plus is greater because this is less hydrated, whereas this is hydrated. Therefore, an amino acid as a dipolar ion or a Zwitter ion is what seems to be in existence. When the solution of an amino acid is made acidic or basic, its ionic nature changes. That means if you have this, and if I were to add H plus, what do you think will happen? Obviously, the CO minus is the only place where the H can go. So the neutral molecule becomes positive. Okay. Now, if I were, and the reverse would happen if I were to add OH minus. Now, if on the other hand, if I were to add OH minus to this, it will take the proton from NH3 plus and become NH2, a negative ion, and the reverse will be done by H plus. So basically what we're going to do is, we're going to say, okay, I start with this, and I keep adding H plus and see what happens. So when I add H plus, where do you think H plus goes? Which is more acidic? Obviously, the NH2. Remember, we just said NH2 is more basic than CO minus. So it will take the proton. Now again I add, and this is reverse is OH minus. So if now again I add H plus, you'll get COH. So this is the anion part. This is ampholyte because it is neutral. This is the anion part 2 and this is the cation part 3. So remember this 1, 2, 3. Wherever feasible, we can speed up the desired reaction by adjusting the acidity or basicity of the solution in such a way so as to increase the concentration of the reactive species. So wherever you want, depending on which part you want for reaction, you can change the pH and do it. Now let's find out what is isoelectric point and how to calculate that. Now, what happens when a solution of an amino acid is placed in an electric field depends upon the acidity or basicity of the solution. Now let's start from 3. If I were, because this is the most protonated species, if I were to make it give H plus, where would the H go from? Obviously COH. So I'll get this. And this is Ka1. Now, if this were to give the H plus, I'll get this. This is Ka2. And this is species 1, 3 and 2, if you remember. Now, what do you think would exist in a highly alkaline solution? And what do you think would exist in the most acidic part? Obviously, the more acidic, the more parts of the amino acid will be protonated. You will have 3. And the most basic would be the one where it has lost almost all the H plus, which would be 2. So in a highly alkaline solution, anion 2 exceeds cation 3 and there is a net migration of the amino acid towards the anode. So if you do electrolysis here, Whereas in highly acidic solution, cation 3 is in excess and there is a net migration of the amino acid towards the cathode. But if 2 and 3 are exactly balanced, there is no net migration. Now, under such condition, any one molecule exists as a positive ion and as a negative ion for the same amount of time, and any small movement in the direction of one electrode is subsequently cancelled by an equal movement back towards the other electrode. The hydrogen ion concentration of the solution in which a particular amino acid does not migrate at all under the influence of an electric field is called an isoelectric point, Pi, of that amino acid. So basically, the isoelectric point is the pH at which the amino acid exists with net charge 0. Because the sweeter ion is anyway in net charge 0 and the cation and anion are balanced. For glycine, for example, the isoelectric point is at pH of 6.1. How to calculate the isoelectric point? Pretty simple. So you have this first Ka and this is the second Ka. I just want to write the species here. So what will be Ka1? Ka1, would it not be this? And what will be Ka2? This. What happens when we multiply? You get this. And at isoelectric point, you know 2 is equal to 3. Therefore, the H plus square is Ka1, Ka2. So what is H plus? Root of Ka1, Ka2. And what is pH, which we call as Pi now, is pK1 plus pK2 by 2. This is how you calculate. Now, when an amino acid is in the form of an anion, then it is soluble in acid. When an amino acid is in the form of a cation, it is soluble in a base. Because in the anion form, it needs a lot of H plus. It is not protonated at all. In a base, in a cationic form, it is highly protonated. At isoelectric point, since the zwitterion form is dominant, it is least soluble in either. An amino acid with more COH than NH2, then its Pi will be less than 7. Obviously, when you have something like aspartic acid and glutamic acid, they will be less than 7. An amino acid with less COH than NH2, then its Pi will be more than 7. This is definite. You cannot say for others. And then there is a process called electrophoresis. The movement of charged molecules like amino acid under the influence of an electric field is what is called as electrophoresis. If the pH value is less than the Pi, then the solution has a more cationic character, as we saw before. So, if it is less than Pi, then it needs to be this. So it has a net cationic character because you have less than Pi. In Pi, it was zwitterion. If you make more acidic, it will do this. If the pH value is more than Pi, then the solution has more anionic character because this is the Pi, and you remove the H plus, you will get this. So electrophoresis separates amino acids on the basis of their Pi values. So this is how the Pi values are used up. And that's the end of the second part. So there's a lot of stuff in this, a lot of calculations, a lot of things to understand. Watch this video as many times as you want. And but please make notes while doing that. Watch them carefully. Take your time. And so basically carbohydrates and proteins, these are the most important parts of biomolecules. The rest of them, nucleic acids, enzymes, hormones, you just have to learn them. There's not much to it. But these are the two things which are important. So make sure that you pay attention to these two. Anyway, with that, this is Kalyan Kumar signing off. Have a great and wonderful day. And thank you for watching this. And I'll catch you in the next one.